What's up, guys? Welcome back to Streetball Strategies, and welcome back to our next basketball movie review, number 19 on the Esquire.com Best Basketball Movie list. This week's movie is Like Mike from 2001, starring Lil Bow Wow. I guess in 2001 he was still Lil Bow Wow. Lil Bow Wow. I have actually not seen Like Mike before. This was my first time seeing it. The movie was released in 2001. I was 19, and so I didn't care to see this movie at the time because even though it was a basketball movie, I was 19 and I didn't want to watch a kids comedy about basketball. One of the reasons for that is because when you're talking about kids comedies, you have to have more leniency for movies like that, right? You can't grade them on the same scale that you would grade a, say, rated R basketball drama that's intended for adults. At the time, when I was 19, I had no interest in seeing that movie, but I watched it the other day, and the plot of the movie is that Lil Bow Wow plays Calvin, who is a 13-year-old orphan who one day receives a pair of old Nike Carolina blue tennis shoes, and when he puts them on, he gets these weird basketball superpowers. And that's one of my problems with kids comedies, which is there's a lot of plot holes, right? Me as an adult movie fan, I want to dig into those plot holes and say what's up with this and what's up with that, but I'm not the intended demographic for this movie, right? Keeping that in mind, the plot is perfectly fine. I think that if I were a kid, if I were 13 or 9 or 11 watching this movie with this plot, I would buy into it. I think it would entertain me. I think I would still be bothered by plot holes in the movie, but again, I would probably overlook them if I was only 12 years old watching this movie trying to enjoy it. And so I think the plot is perfectly fine. Calvin finds these shoes. They have weird basketball superpowers that allow him to end up playing for the local NBA team, which is the LA Knights, which is weird because their colors are red, white, and blue like the Los Angeles Clippers, but they call themselves the Knights, but they play regular NBA teams, like they play the San Antonio Spurs and the Toronto Raptors with NBA stars. You see David Robinson in the movie, and you see Vince Carter in the movie, and Allen Iverson in the movie playing themselves on their respective teams. But then the team that Calvin plays for is a made-up team called the LA Knights. But regardless of that, the plot is fine. There's no unforgivable, problems. Any problem in the plot is perfectly fine. The point is, it is entertaining. If I were a kid watching this movie with this plot, I would be entertained. Most of the movie is Lil Bow Wow playing Calvin. I think he's on camera for every scene in the movie. He plays that character pretty well for a 13-year-old kid at the time. You can tell that he's acting, but it's not bad. It's not blatant. But you can tell he's a 13-year-old kid playing a character. There is a scene, though, that he's in where he's on the court with a microphone addressing the fans at the beginning of the movie, where he's brought out to play one-on-one against the LA Knights superstar player played by Morris Chestnut. And as he's being introduced, he grabs the mic and starts talking to the crowd and interacting, and you can really see Lil Bow Wow, the rapper, come out in that scene. It's much more natural. You can tell that he's used to having a microphone in his hand and playing to crowds. The other major character in the movie is played by Morris Chestnut, who ends up being Calvin's mentor once Calvin joins the LA Knights. And again, it's a pretty standard character. Morris Chestnut plays it as well as can be expected. They bond together, they form a repertoire with each other, and they have a pretty good chemistry together. Pretty standard stuff. It develops in the movie as you would expect, and it's completely fine for a kid's comedy. As for the direction of the movie, again, nothing really stands out. Pretty basic stuff. There's definitely nothing distracting. There's nothing spectacular about it. It just works the way you would expect. The basketball scenes are filmed pretty well. Everything else is filmed pretty well. There are no complaints about how they film all the basketball scenes in the movie. But of course, it being a kids' comedy, there really is no demand that the direction be outstanding. It just has to be good enough to get the plot across and to make it entertaining, and it accomplishes that. So is this a good movie? Sure, it's fine. It's, if you're a kid and you're watching this movie and you're a basketball fan and you're a Lil Bow Wow fan and you want to be entertained, that's fine. There's no problem with this movie. It's completely watchable, especially if you're a kid looking for a fun basketball movie. This is it. Is it funny? It's okay. It's fine.
Hey, Calvin. Listen, man. Can I get your autograph?
Sure, Dirk.
It's actually for my niece.
What's her name?
It's Dirk.
I will say that Crispin Glover plays the director of the orphanage that Lil Bow Wow's in, and when he first came on screen, I was like, oh, this doesn't work. This is weird. Crispin Glover as like a orphanage director guy is weird. And it is kind of weird, but it does kind of work. And the juxtaposition between him and Lil Bow Wow, Lil Bow Wow trying to be an NBA superstar and hopefully get adopted by somebody at some point, and then Crispin Glover, he tries, his character tries to step in and be Calvin's manager and, stop him from being adopted, which would be bad for him and his orphanage if Calvin does get adopted. And so he tries to stop him from being adopted. He tries to be his manager as his legal guardian. It's weird, but it's weird in a way that it does kind of work pretty well. Should you see it? Do you need to see it? Do you need to experience like Mike? No, you don't, especially if you're an adult. But even if you're a kid, like Mike is fine. There's no problems with it. It's just kind of forgettable. I mean, the plot's so over the top and it's so unrealistic that it's not something that you need to see. It's not something that you need to try to relate to or anything like that. It's a good time. It's just not necessary. All that being said, and again taking into context the fact that this is a kids movie, it's a basketball comedy for kids, I'd give it a solid B, maybe a B minus, but I think B is fine. It's fine. It works. It's fine. It does what it's supposed to do. It's entertaining enough. It's funny enough. It does what you expect it to do. It is what you expect it to be. It lives up to those expectations. It's not great. It's not that good, but it's a B. So that's my review of 2001's Like Mike. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this review, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified of the next 18 movies that are on Esquire's Best Basketball Movies list. And until then, I will see you guys next week.